Climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy overnight with a low of 68, then showers and thunderstorms possible Saturday with a high of 81. Victor's 1959 Cafe on Grand Avenue in South Minneapolis is now open for outdoor patio service. All of their Cuban favorites are still available for takeout and delivery. Go to victors1959cafe.com or call 612-827-8948.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
This is Winona, LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Hey, it's Victory Day. We got to really move and groove here. We have a jam-packed show, Wendy. I also want to, the trial was done. I just want to speak on that.
The Chauvin trial,
right?
22 and a half years.
I just took a quote from one of our sisters, AIM sisters, Rachel Thunder. It says, video evidence of the murder of Chauvin committed, and he gets 22 and a half years. No factual evidence on Leonard Peltier, and he's still serving 45 years. So that's where we're at right now, and I think we wish he would have got more, but we got to take what we got. You know, we have Heather Keeler on today, Mary Kunesh on here, and right now, because we wanted to really get going on the show, Ogama's taking the day off, but we have Winona, LaDuke of Honor the Earth pinch hitting. Let's take a quick listen.
Returning to Rice Lake, this is Winona, LaDuke, and I want to talk about the gathering of our people at Big Rice Lake. You can feel the wind talk to the rice. That's what Lou Murray said at our gathering in Rice Lake Village. Rice Lake Village is on the White Earth Reservation. It's the mother lode of wild rice, Lower Rice Lake. Lou Murray stood in front of the gathering. About 200 or so people had gathered to greet the runners who just run 25 miles to honor the rice and protect it. It's a joyful gathering also because people are just starting to gather outside. Since COVID, we lost a lot of people and we're all happy to see each other. For some, it's been a long time. And for some of us who are facing police many days on the Enbridge pipeline route, it's a welcome sanctuary from the violence, emotional, ecological, and physical. More than anything, the gathering organized by community members brings us together to reaffirm our commitment to our wild rice and water. I've been around the sun 48 times, and that rice has been there with me through all those times. There's really nothing like it. Murray remembers when he started ricing. At 13 years old, I was at the south end with my cousin, and an old man came over and said, "I need a poler." And after that, I poled. I've done that ever since. It's a great way of life for us. Take care of our rice and our water. This year is the lowest water levels most of us can remember, and that's made harder by a drought, irrigation, and water takings from the lake. Lou's story, though, is the story of the men of Whiter, the story of many young men on the reservation, ricing since they are kids. Rice is our life. Lou Murray is one of 3 or 4 big wild rice processors on the reservation, finishing tens of thousands of pounds of rice, creating a finished rice that's light tan in color and flavored by the unique taste of wood parching. This is the real thing. The wild rice economy continues, and as Cody Eaglefeather reminds us at the gathering, it's a part of our migration stories and the centerpiece of our identity. We're having an identity crisis, he tells us all, talking about the challenges of this young generation keeping our way of life. Cody, like many other ricers, can bring in thousands of pounds of wild rice in the fall, supporting not only his family, but many families on the reservation, feeding them all. Wild rice is really our freedom as an Anishinaabe people. And for 200 years, the state and other colonial institutions have been trying to destroy that freedom through policies, subsidies, research at the University of Minnesota, arrests by many, and the destruction of wild rice habitat. The wild rice unifies us, all of us, and it's a time of great excitement and joy in the village. Not surprisingly, Wild Rice Village has opposed Enbridge's plan since day one, demanding hearings on the sandpiper there in the village and showing up at every meeting, and turning out thousands of others on the headwaters of the Mississippi in early June when over 3,000 people gathered for the Treaty People Gathering. That was led by people from Rice Lake Village. Enbridge's work to divide the White Earth community and lucrative contacts with businesses like Gordon Construction, as well as their plays in tribal politics, are not viewed well in Rice Lake. This gathering is attended by most of the White Earth Tribal Council, who see the strong opposition to Line 3. Wild rice or monoman is a way of life for this village and for most of us on the White Earth Reservation. It feeds the body and it feeds the soul, with hundreds of thousands of pounds produced not only for our community, but for sale. Today, the monoman is feeding the souls as tribal members and friends come to gather to honor the rice and challenge not only Enbridge, but the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, which has just allocated 5 billion gallons of water to Enbridge for the Line 3 pipeline without any tribal consultation. Well, let's put it this way. They told the tribes on May 14th, although the DNR had known about the request in December. Our tribe has been facing them, but we noticed that 5 billion gallons of water for Line 3, in the middle of the deepest drought we can remember. The week before this, tribal members saw hoses pumping water from Upper Rice Lake by Knife River Contracting, something perhaps that company has done for years, as well as a lot of local businesses and farms just taking water with very few, if any, regulation. The Minnesota DNR policies are being challenged. The rice needs the water, and those policies need adaptation. Really, they need the 1855 Treaty Authority to manage that rice and to manage those waters. After all, the White Earth Tribe is in a good position to do that. In 2019, recognizing the rights of monoman is a part of a growing movement internationally to strengthen regulatory and constitutional protections for the rights of nature over the rights of private property and corporations. It's a move going on internationally and something that the state of Minnesota has not acknowledged at all. Silas Nealon, a 14-year-old from Rice Lake Village, stands with a microphone in front of the crowd. He's been organizing youth and organized a lot of this gathering. He's organized events for the past year during COVID and beyond, and traveled to Washington, D.C. to have his voice heard. He tells our community to stand up for the rice. The black snake is 13 miles from our wild rice lake. It's time to kill the black snake, says Silas. Lou Murray has been ricing most of his life, and like hundreds of other Anishinaabe for the reservation, relies on the Monoman for sustenance, traveling to the lakes in the south. First to harvest, Big Sandy, the Sandy Lake flowage, Minnewawa, the Crow Wing Lakes, Dean Lake, and more. The rice on Shell Lake is larger, the river rice smaller. They open later. Then the ricers move closer to Rice Lake, Lower Rice Lake and the Tamarack Refuge, some ricing over on Leech Lake or through the Ottertail River systems. The people follow the rice. That's what we've done for thousands of years. It ripens differently in each lake or region, and that traditional ecological knowledge is kept by ricers generation after generation. Those lakes are throughout the 1855 treaty territory, and today in the impact zone, the great impact zone of Line 3, the last tar sands pipeline. This is the only place in the world for this plant, and we've harvested on the same lakes for thousands of years. It's the mark of a sustainable economy, one which defines the northern economy. For thousands of years, this was the wild rice economy. Non-Indians benefited as well, as they parlayed native rice to gourmet buyers from the east and the west. In the 1970s, the advent of paddy rice, created by the University of Minnesota, ravaged the wild rice economy of Minnesota. The university's work and the creation of patented seeds of a state grain ultimately led to 75% of what's called wild rice being produced today in diked rice paddies in Northern California, brought to us by Gourmet House, Uncle Ben's, and somebody called Indian Harvest Wild Rice. The University of Minnesota's historic work pushed the traditional wild rice economy to the margins, and coupled with the mismanagement of water by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, has resulted in the destruction of 70% of the wild rice in the state. That's why the remaining lakes are so critical to protect, not only from Enbridge, but from the industrial agriculture runoff, and of course the ever-looming mining industry attempting a comeback at the end of the mining era. Protecting the water is protecting the wild rice. The body burden of hating. Coming to Rice Lake Village was a great emotional relief. I hadn't realized the body burden of the hating. As I looked on and listened to the laughs and stories of Rice Lakers in my community, a tremendous feeling of love and healing came over. Again, our people love the water and are Monoman. Just try being an Indian person or a water protector in Park Rapids these days. There's a lot of fearful looks, even some dirty looks, some yelling at us as water protectors. Park Rapids Enterprise is all full of comments about us and pretty much hateful articles. It's the deep north, and it's not just dirty looks. It's continued exclusion, as the Park Rapids Chamber of Commerce seems intent upon pushing the only Native delegation out of the Park Rapids 4th of July parade because they're afraid. I'm having some serious flashbacks to Standing Rock, as local media and Enbridge fan more and more racism. Why would you hate on water protectors? Hubbard County has arrested hundreds of people for standing in the water, including 70 and 75-year-old people. And yet, in the midst of the deepest drought we can remember, Hubbard County stands by as Enbridge takes 3 billion gallons of water in dewatering and pushing our fresh water around like it's a waste product. The Shell River, running through Hubbard County into Wadena, through the 1855 treaty territory, comes from the reservation in treaty territory, and it's running at 25% capacity. Yet Enbridge proposes to cross this river 5 times, and each time it will take hundreds of thousands of gallons of water out of the river to run those pumps, let alone the dewatering of all the trenches in the pipeline. In the meantime, thousands of Minnesotans and others are coming to support our people, supporting the treaty rights of the Anishinaabes, as well as opposing the taking of water by a Canadian multinational. Asserting our treaty rights is not a crime. We're here to protect our water. Our non-native relatives have been moving up in a good way to defend the treaty, Nancy Bolio tells the crowd. Nancy, along with Don Goodwin from the Rise Coalition, succeeded in bringing almost 3,000 people to a Treaty Peoples gathering in early June on the White Earth Reservation, and then held ceremonies on the Enbridge route, holding the space for 8 days. Meanwhile, at Rice Lake, the rice is trying to come up. It's laying flat on the water in most places. Looking out from Big Bear Landing, you can see the rice coming in strong and the swans on the lake, huge flocks of them. This is a sanctuary. not only for rice, but for millions of birds. This is where the wild things live. True to form at Bunga Landing on Rice Lake, the rice is early. It's standing on the river. The rice is coming back. A constant in our lives, one thing remains through casinos, through public policy, jobs programs, all kinds of ideas. The rice is still here. Our rice awaits our Anishinaabe people, our prayers, our songs, and our gratitude. Miigwech, this is Winona LaDuke talking about the return to Rice Lake.
Hey, Pinigigi Winona. You will be right back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Next up, Heather Keeler.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986. I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, we have Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler of 4A on today, and we thought it would be important to have her on for a few minutes and just tell her how proud we are of all the work she's doing. And we're watching you, Heather. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey, y'all. I miss you. I feel like I haven't been here in so long, but I continue to appreciate the work and the messages that y'all are sharing across the state and really across the region.
Yeah, well, we thought it was really important to have you on because of all the work that you're doing for our people. And I know we just wanted to say we're really proud of you, and we're watching you, and you're doing so much important work. And we just wanted to get you on for a few minutes. I know you're really busy, but we're watching you. We're watching you, Heather.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I say often that I stand in front of you as unapologetically Indigenous. I do that every single day in the work that I do and the behind the scenes work that I do. You know, in my campaign, you all heard the message that I really wanted to work on certain things, and that was education, cultural revitalization, protecting Mother Earth, housing. And I've really had a chance to do that. You know, we're really deep in the weeds of special session right now. And this this fight is really exhausting, but it's also really powerful to know there's not many of us in these seats speaking up. And I'm just so honored and proud to be able to represent such a phenomenal community across the state, and hopefully be a voice, for everybody and our future generations as well.
You are a voice, and I think it's important. I just retired from teaching, but I always told Lieutenant Governor, and I want to tell you this, I've always told Peggy Flanagan that Peenagigi, that you're doing what you're doing because our students need somebody that looks like them doing your work.
I agree. My message has always been, I have 4 degrees. I have a high school diploma, an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's, and I've never seen anybody who looks like me at the front of a classroom. And that matters. That goes for the same as my doctors, lawyers, physicians, doctors, all those kind of bigger jobs, especially our leaders, just didn't ever look like me. And so, I continue to hope that the work that I do here impacts change right now, but that it's planting seeds for all of you, for our next generations, to know that we belong in these spaces. This work is hard, but also it's so powerful and so meaningful. We had a press conference this morning with Senator Kunesh, Representative Beckerfin, and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, and it's just so powerful to be in their presence. And I look forward to kind of our Native caucus growing and being a stronger voice to represent our people on our land and the decisions that we continue to make.
Yeah, I know a lot of the representatives speak highly of you and are impressed with you. I see that all over the internet and people talking about you. And so we're so proud of you and the work you're doing and the good work, right, Wen?
Yeah, absolutely. And the sacrifices also. I mean, you take time away from your kids and your family to do this important work. So we really appreciate all those sacrifices that you give.
And hopefully this session will be over very, very soon.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate also recognizing, the personal sacrifices in all of this. I absolutely love my kids. And I kind of say I mom very differently than others. I haven't spent as much time with my kids as I would like to, but I also like to believe that the work I'm doing is going to impact their lives in many ways. And as far as wrapping up the special session, I can guarantee you that from the circles that I'm in and the people that I'm around, we're absolutely pushing to finish this on time, because we understand that if we don't finish our job, that affects a lot of people, because, we start to have government shutdowns. Agencies have to shut down. And I know that those are our employees, those are our workers, that's insurance that's lost. And so we are very aware of that. And we're ready to work around the clock to make sure that we get our job done on time.
I know you are. And, we talk, I don't remember who we talked to, Wendy, but, it's just such a domino effect of the last time the government was shut down. There's county or state workers, I should say, that weren't able to close on their house because the bank knew this, that all of a sudden you don't have money. So there's these things. So hopefully, we can get that done. And I know you're working hard and your allies are working hard on getting this done. Let's just hope everyone, grows up and does the right thing, I guess is the only way I can put it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that at the end of the day, we all care about Minnesotans. We just maybe care about them from different lenses. And so, as always, I'm committed to building strong relationships across the aisle and looking for slivers of commonality so that we can continue to really work together and do the work, not only in this session, but hopefully in future sessions as well.
Exactly. And I know you're really super busy, but I thought it would be really important too before especially, it just kind of spiked my interest in reaching out to you, Heather, is that, all these things that people are saying that you're the warrior and doing great things. And I thought it was important for us to reach out to you and say, Peenagigi, thank you so much for all you do. We got like a minute left. Do you have anything to close with?
I just want to recognize that I know a lot of us across Turtle Island are really hurting for multiple reasons. right now. I think that it all goes hand in hand, and I just want to let everybody know that I'm thinking of everybody, and I hold you all in a very special place in my heart. Both generations before us and the generations to come. We are doing collective community healing right now, and I see that. And I know that, and this pain is real. And I'm just asking for the non-Indigenous members that are listening, be kind. As we walk through this, be mindful that we are discovering babies all over Turtle Island that are our ancestors, and that's painful. And so as we walk through this together, let's just continue to lead with love and compassion for each other. And that's it. I don't want conversations to be triggering for people. I'm trying to be very mindful of that, but knowing that we're walking together in this healing process.
Wow, what a great way to end. Pinigigi, thank you so much for stopping in. I know you're super busy, but you've been doing the work of a couple people, and we want to just give you the recognition. Thank you so much, Pinigigi, for stopping in.
Oh, Pila.
Awesome, Wendy. That was Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler, just doing unbelievable work. And I'm glad you brought up the part about family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I always my mom was a single mom. I saw her work her butt off 7 days a week to support my sister and I think that's where I got my work ethic. So her children are watching her, and she's bringing them up right.
And we're all watching her, and I think that's what was
Absolutely.
really important to have her on. Hey, up next, Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh.
Stay with us.
Over the past year and more, we've all missed out on a lot. Family time, graduations, weddings. And missing those events, we've missed out on even more. Friendships, connections, community, belonging. That's a long time to miss things this important. So don't miss on getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccines are now available throughout Hennepin County to anyone over the age of 16. Just visit takecarehennepin.org and sign up to get yours. That's takecarehennepin.org.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Hi, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman. Join me every weekday from 11 to 2 for in-depth analysis of what's happening in politics today on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, free, and approved for everyone over the age of 12. Getting vaccinated is the most powerful tool to keep ourselves and loved ones healthy and to end this pandemic. Get your vaccine and get back to what matters most to you. To learn more about scheduling a free appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. Again, that website to schedule your free COVID-19 vaccine is ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Finding the right lawyer is incredibly stressful. It can be tough to know even where to start. Don't just run an internet search for an attorney. Start with the Minnesota Lawyer Referral and Information Service, an enhanced program of the Hennepin and Ramsey County Bar Associations. They'll connect you with over 200 thoroughly vetted, qualified attorneys practicing in over 50 areas of law. Call 612-752-6699 or go to mnlawyerreferral.org. The right call for the right lawyer.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy overnight with a low of 68, then showers and thunderstorms possible Saturday with a high of 81. This spring's hailstorm in the South Metro caused a surprising amount of roof damage. Storm damage can sometimes take weeks or months to reveal itself. If you suspect roof damage, call Snap Construction for a free, no-obligation inspection. 612-333-SNAP.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakam Jahade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. And the Biden administration signaled in a court filing this week that it does not plan to cancel federal permits for Enbridge's Line 3 oil pipeline project, despite pleas by Native Americans and environmental groups for the president to intervene.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, but that's good to bring up again. Really,
bad.
All our relatives and allies need to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're going to jump into State Senator Mary Kunesh spot. Why don't we take a quick listen?
How Matakayape. Thank you, Robert. Happy to be here with you today. It's Senator Kunesh, and I'm unfortunately not with you in person because either I am in our special session here in Minnesota in the Senate, or I'm at the parade in my community. But either way, working hard for the folks. And I think you asked me to maybe follow up on the education legislation that's going to be going through here in Minnesota, Robert. And we know, of course, that our people of color, our kids of color, have the highest education disparities here in Minnesota. And we're working really hard here in Minnesota at the legislature to ensure that our kids are graduating and moving on to college. But what we are really, really short of are teachers of color. And so in Minnesota, our state legislature is actually, for the first time since I've been elected, which is the last 6 years, I spent 4 years in the House and now my first year here in the Senate, in a pretty progressive funding formula for our communities. It's not enough. It's never enough. The federal government never sends us enough, and our state never really invests an adequate amount of money into our students. But our basic formula for our per pupil tuition or student investment is 2.45% the first year, fiscal year 22, and then 2% increase in fiscal year 23 as well. So that's a total of $462.947 million that we are investing in our students. And so that's a huge increase. There's tails for fiscal year 24-25 that comes out to almost $643 million. But that's really important that we are investing, especially after this pandemic and especially after we're getting funding from the federal government into our students. But what I'm really excited about is the reduction for our special education cross subsidy of $10.45 million, and then English learner cross subsidy. Both of those have really taken a toll on our districts, and it's important that we are doing those things. But again, if we're not fully funding our schools, then this just takes right from the students' learning and resources. And so pretty excited about those things. Another thing that I'm really excited about is the investment in creating an atmosphere that is going to be positive for teachers of color and Indigenous folks. So here in Minnesota, we do have funding for American Indian teacher prep. So when they're preparing for their licensure, we have grants that have been going out, and that's at $280,000 going forward for the next 2 years. That doesn't sound like a lot, but we also are investing in our teachers of color mentoring and retention incentive grants. There's $4.5 million, and then ongoing again to support our teachers of color when they have completed their degree, starting their profession. And we know that, most often teachers will leave the profession within the first 3 years of teaching. It's a burnout for those first 3 years. And especially for teachers of color who maybe are the only Native person in the building or the African American or whatnot. And it's a huge burden to carry. And so we're investing in those American Indian teachers so that we not only have mentors there for them, but we're also creating an effort to retain them as well. So there's that grant. And then Minnesota has a real disparity between our teachers in so many ways. And for the last couple of years, I've been working really hard on a comprehensive bill called Increasing Teachers of Color and Indigenous. And so we've got the teacher of color mentoring and retention. We've got teacher recruitment, marketing campaign, grow your own. But we also are putting out there a Come Teach in Minnesota hiring bonus. Right now in Minnesota, there are over 58,000 teachers who are licensed, yet many of them have left the profession. And just to be honest, I retired after 25 years just this past November, but we need seats. We need teachers of color to fill those seats especially. And so some of the funding that we've done is really kind of historic. We've been able to put money back into voluntary pre-K. That was really scary because we had legislation that Republicans were not going to pass would not preserve 4,000 seats for Minnesota's youngest learners for the upcoming biennium. And that would have meant 4,000 kids, and usually they're kids from lower income, kids of color that are recipients of these grants. And so we were able to preserve those 4,000 seats for those kids. And then again, talking about our different disparities in discipline and some of the other programs that we have. I'm just really excited about this piece of legislation that we're putting through in our state government here in Minnesota. One of the things that we've seen is an uptick in suicide with our students, and so we've got some funding in for that. So anyway, those are the things that we are doing. We had a great press conference this morning to talk about the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Office, a piece of legislation that I'm carrying here in Minnesota, and hope to get that passed. I'm pretty optimistic, and Representative Keeler and Representative Becker-Finn, both Indigenous women over in the House of Representatives were there. Our Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan came down to say a few good words, plus a few of our task force members and survivors. So all in all, it's been a pretty good Friday. We will continue our special session right up until the end of the month, I'm sure. But in the meantime, everyone stay cool, drink lots of water, enjoy the beautiful outdoors. Make sure that the lake that you're in is not is still safe to swim in with these low water rates. But I guess that's about it for me. And I just want to say Wopala Tonka, Chimigwich, Pilamia, and I'm going to shoot it right back to you, Robert. Take care, everybody.
Wow, thanks, Mary. That was State Senator Mary Kunesh, Wendy.
Yeah, she's awesome. That's great.
She's totally awesome. Hey, we got like 3 minutes here, and I want to bring on Lewis and talk a little bit about today, which is Victory Day. And Lewis, welcome to Native Roots Radio.
Hello, greetings, everybody in the radio listenership as well. Today's a very special day for us as Lakota people, Cheyenne and Arapaho. Ampetu wu'uhie iushkia, which means Happy Victory Day in Lakota. Ampetu washte. Yuha chante washte na pecha yusa below. I greet you with a good heart and a warm handshake, everybody. 145th anniversary of Little Bighorn is such a big deal for us because, since the 1867 Fort Laramie Treaty, among all Indigenous people nationwide and in the Western Hemisphere, the encroachment upon our lands was systematic. And what we see today with the Kamloops, as well as Saskatchewan and all our First Nations brothers and sisters, grieving today with, the almost 1,000, I would say, findings of our relatives buried there in boarding schools. We know the fight continues today. Even though we celebrate Victory Day today as a Lakota, my heart is grieving today for those family members in our First Nations community. And as Indigenous people, we reflect on the battle of Tashunke Witko, Crazy Horse, who was small, wasn't the biggest Indian, wasn't the fastest Indian, but at the same time was one of the greatest leaders. And that goes for all of us together with our activism. Even though we're not fighting with guns anymore, we're fighting with activism to shut down Line 3, to shut down, systems of oppression that operate to include things like missing and murdered Indigenous women. Those type of systemic racist types of institutions still exist today. For-profit prisons, what's happening with Leonard Peltier, the jurisdictional maze that our women go through when they're trying to report crimes against themselves. All of these are still frontline battles, and I consider myself a warrior as well as our Indigenous brothers and sisters on that front line today. It may not be Little Bighorn, but it's on the front lines today for our 7 generations going forward today, because we have to fight for them. And if we don't fight for clean water, we don't fight for our Indigenous rights, we don't fight for sovereignty and language reclamation, no one's going to do it for us, Robert.
Wow, Lewis, thank you so much. That really needs to be said, and really a great way to wind up the show. But we're going to have next, again, Peeny Gigi Lewis for that great little segment. We're going to have It's Fun Friday, Wendy.
Yeah, it's Fun Fact Friday about animals. I'm going to keep it really light. I kept it light yesterday, and I'm going to do it again today. I just need to for my own psyche.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm with you on that. Hey, and again, I wanted to make sure we got Lewis on there.
Absolutely.
But I want to also give a big shout out to Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh, who hasn't missed a show in so long.
She's got PTO today.
Yeah.
She's taking some PTO.
Yeah. And so is Ogama. So
Ogama's taking some PTO.
But she's backstage. There she is.
But she's still working.
That's right. She's got her resist shirt on. Hey, exactly. We want to give a shout out to you out there, Madison, listening in the Twin Cities and all over Turtle Island. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Over the past year and more, we've all missed out on a lot. Family time, graduations, weddings. And missing those events, we've missed out on even more. Friendships, connections, community, belonging. That's a long time to miss things this important. So don't miss on getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccines are now available throughout Hennepin County to anyone over the age of 16. Just visit takecarehennepin.org and sign up to get yours. That's takecarehennepin.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are Alusa Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunja Hade.
Ooh, I love that name. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh. Hear you, Ogama.
Yeah.
That was good. Good,
Ogama
strong one.
We're getting better.
Yeah, Lewis is getting better too, and Ogama has been resting her voice during the show because she didn't have to do her segment. She gets a little PTO too.
Yeah.
But that was strong.
Awesome.
Hey, I want to
Love it.
introduce my awesome and beautiful wife, Wendy. And Wendy has been an animal advocate for many years, and she is a humane society or humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and she works on animal issues in the local and national level. So that's really cool. This is our native, our sacred animals section. Wendy.
Yeah, my name is Hanajihi Hani. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis, who is Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. So as always, thank you so much, Curtis, and I really appreciate it. I've kind of kept it light yesterday and today. There's a lot of bad stuff happening right now with animals, and I just for my own psyche and for everybody else's,
Sanity.
I just want to keep it light and fresh and for the weekend. Send them off with a good note, funny note. So I have this, I came across this website and it's called boardpanda.com. It's theboardpanda.com. So, and it's listed. We're not going to talk about all the animals because we're not going to have time, but it says weird animal facts that they didn't teach you in school. So Robert, I think that you're going to get a couple of good laughs about a couple of them. So the first one is about a panda. This is a panda fact. Pandas don't particularly sleep in a particular spot, like they don't have a bed, like or a nest, like, okay, I'm going to go and lay down here and go to sleep. They simply fall asleep wherever it happens to be. It's kind of like you. You kind of do
Especially
that
when
too.
I was younger, I could really do that.
So I didn't know that. Yeah, they just kind of plop down and that's it. Here's a weird wombat fact. Now, I had to look up because I kind of knew what a wombat was, but I wasn't particularly positive. So a wombat is a short-legged, muscular marsupial. And a marsupial is a mammal that has a pouch and it carries their babies. They are native to Australia and they grow to about 40 inches long and can weigh between 44 to 77 pounds. So they're kind of big. But wombats have cube-shaped poop.
Oh, so do I. At times.
So you sleep wherever you may be like a panda and you poop like a wombat. Okay.
Getting kind of personal, but yeah. Hey.
Less than 10% of the world's oceans have been explored. Most of the deep sea remains a mystery to this day. That's really something else. So there's a whole world out there in the ocean. Really?
Yeah.
Only 10% of the world's oceans have been explored.
Right.
So there's lots of ocean life that we don't even know about.
I saw a TikTok a couple days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the person was basically had a New York accent and
Mm-hmm.
she was saying, the water is not ours. Stay out of the water. I see people getting attacked by sharks. We don't live there. We walked out of the water millions of years ago. Stay out of the water. It was pretty funny.
That is funny.
But TikTok's pretty funny.
It is funny. Here, the closest living relative to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or do you know which animal that lives here on Earth? And
Well, we had a Chihuahua that was pretty close to that. Mickey had an attitude. What was that, Olga?
Is it chickens, Wendy?
Yes, it is. It's a chicken. Yes, it is. It's a chicken. Yeah, absolutely. There's some butterflies that are called vampire butterflies, and many species of butterflies can drink blood when given the chance. Yeah.
It sounds like my dark days when I was younger.
Oh my goodness. Here's a platypus fact. So a platypus is kind of like an animal, like a beaver almost, and it has a longer nose, but platypuses swim with their eyes closed.
I do too.
I don't think they have very good vision anyway, but
Chlorine.
I'm not really sure about that, so don't quote me. And I'm on this very reputable website called theboredpanda.com. So
better get Snopes out there and check out.
Exactly. But Robert, listen to this one. You might be interested in this eagle fact.
Oh.
Okay. The strike of an eagle can be 2 times stronger than a rifle shot.
What? Can you say that again? I was just reading
Okay.
the screen. Say that
Here's
again.
an eagle fact.
Yeah.
The strike of an eagle can be 2 times stronger than a rifle shot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from the Eagle clan, so
Yeah, I thought
watch
that
it.
you'd be interested in that. You know those birds, starlings? The
Yeah.
little starlings? Starlings can imitate words sometimes better than parrots.
Whoa.
Hey, Helen. That's what it says on the thing. A little bird. It has a little hi, Helen.
OMG.
Here's a hippopotamus. Hippopotamus. They kill more humans than any other mammal per year.
What?
Yeah.
More than people?
A hippopotamus. Hippopotamuses kill more humans than any other mammal per year.
Other than
I
human,
would say,
probably.
yeah, I would say other than human, but I don't know that for a fact. Turkeys can reproduce without having sex.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah,
about
well,
that
they
one.
can just do that. Let's see if I can find another one.
What is that like? They get it off the toilet seat or something?
I
They get
don't
pregnant
know.
Off the toilet
Whatever. So here's a squid size facts. A colossal squid can grow to the size of a bus. Isn't that crazy?
seat? Well, what kind of bus?
Like a school bus.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
crazy.
that's. I wouldn't want to be swimming in the deep abyss and coming about.
Well, like that
across a
TikTok said, stay out of the water.
You know, one of my favorite movies was The Abyss. Do you remember who was in that movie?
Yeah, I do. He was. Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Think of his name.
Anyway, if you ever had a chance to watch The Abyss,
I can see his face.
I
but
think I was
I'm
like
old
one
now.
of 10 people who liked that movie, but I always
There was another one you really liked too, when
Waterworld.
Yeah, you knew
I like
exactly
Wa-
what I was gonna say.
because I always say I like that movie, and you're like, that's a terrible movie. But I usually
They
like.
spent all that money, and all I remember about that movie is he drank his own urine. That's all I remember about that movie.
There are some frogs that pee on their food before they eat it to like
Okay, you're not even
conserve
looking at
it.
your phone anymore.
Because I
You're
read
making this up.
because I read it before.
You're
Because
making this up.
they can't vomit. They can't vomit. They could die if they have to vomit or if they eat the wrong food. So they pee on the food first and then they eat it so that they know it's safe.
Salad dressing, yes, okay.
Here's a deep ocean fact since we're on oceans.
Poor Ogama's losing her mind.
The red handfish, it's kind of a fish. The red
With a red
handfish
hand.
uses evolved fins to walk along the ocean floor.
Oh,
Hmm. Here's a sloth, little sloths.
I'm kind of related.
Okay, the sloths,
A
they
little
can't
bit.
shiver. They don't shiver. So if they get cold, they're
Well, then
They
I'm
can't
not-
shiver, and when you shiver, it helps keep their body warm. And I read once, and I hope I got this fact right, that it takes them 2 weeks to digest their food and poop.
Wow.
2 weeks.
Wendy, this was a heavy show, and you really brought it back to a lightness, and I really appreciate that because, it was things that we needed to talk about, but also really lightening up with that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it light at the end. So everybody have a nice weekend. Keep safe.
Yeah, I'd like to end with these thoughts. And the small voice whispers, they found us. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, and run for office. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I want to thank Winona LaDuke, thank Heather Keeler, State Rep, and also State Senator Mary Kunesh. Also want to thank Lewis and Ogama and you with that great segment there at the end. We are the 7th generation. We're still here.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual